Hi there everybody, today we are going to look at sine rule. We're going to look at both missing sides and missing angles. So the sine rule is similar to the idea of the cosine rule, is that when we tend to use it, it tends not to be in a right angle triangle because you would normally use trigonometry, but it's a way of kind of finding a piece of information from a triangle given certain criteria. Alright, so let's have a look. Alright, so sine rule can be used in any type of triangle, tends to be non-right angle triangles, like I said. And your rule is as this. Okay, so you'll see this triangle used quite frequently and around. But what you're looking for is you're not going to use all this. All right, we're literally going to. The idea of it is the rule applies is that a side over the sine of the opposite is equal to a side over the sine of the opposite, which is also equal to a side over the sine of the opposite. So what we're looking for is this situation where I've got at least 3 of these. All right, so I've got a over sine A equals b over sine b, and actually you're probably not going to use c over sine c, but essentially the rule applies. It doesn't matter which sides I've got. So I'm looking for 1, 2, 3 out of the 4 which I can use. So I either have 2 sides with an angle opposite, or I have two angles and a side that's opposite, or some kind of criteria along those lines. But we're looking for missing sides. So what I'm assuming is I have 2 angles where I have a side which is opposite it. All right, so let's have a look. All right, so what I'm looking for are here I've got basically both angles, which actually will help me because I can work out that one if I need be, but I don't. But I'm looking for a side and an angle that's opposite, which I've got, and then this is the side that I want, and an angle that's opposite. All right, so I'm just going to apply this. All right, so little a is the side, little b is the side, and then obviously the capitals are the letters. All right, so what I'm going to put is 5 over sine 31 is equal to y over sine 98. So let's write those in. So using the labels that I've kind of got above, what I've got is, so y over sine 98 is equal to 5 over sine 31. All right, it's a good idea. It's a very good idea actually to have your unknown top left. All right, because it's going to make your life calculating wise an awful lot easier if your unknown is up here than anywhere else. All right, so y over sine 98 equals 5 over sine 31. All right, so a bit of rearranging to get rid of this denominator. We're going to move it up to the other side and become times. So what you'll now have is 5 times sine 98, so that comes to the top, divided by sine 31, and you're going to put all that in your calculator. All right, very, very carefully. So 5 times sine 98 divided by sine 91, all of it, and then you're going to have 9.61, and that is your value of your missing side. Okay. Right, so let's have a look at angles. Angles is one additional step that you need to do, and that's because it's an angle. And again, if you've done trigonometry or anything else involving angles, you'll understand now. So to use the sine rule to find missing angles, you need an angle and 2 sides. All right, one of the sides must be opposite the known angle, and of course it's going to be a very similar formula to what you currently have. All right, and what you should notice that this one is now flipped upside down. All right, so a over sine a and b over sine b before, but it'd be like any kind of fraction. As long as you do the same thing to both sides, it's absolutely fine. So we just flipped it on its head to make your life a little bit easier when dealing with angles, because that means my unknown is going to be at the top, which I mentioned in the previous bit. So sine A over A equals sine B over B. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. So unknown, so let's put sine W top left over 8 is equal to sine 41 over 6. And again, they have to be opposite to each other. All right, so that's what we've got. So sine W top left over 8 equals sine 41 over 6. Okay, like we did last time, the 8 needs to come to the top. So it's going to be 8 times sine 41 over 6, which is here. And then, because this is sine W and I want sine on its own, then I need to do sine to the minus 1 of whatever this answer is over here. Okay, so I'm going to put all that in my calculator, get this, and then do sine to the minus 1, which is the inverse function of sine to get W. Okay, so sine to the minus 1 of this, and that's going to give me my answer of 61.01 degrees. Okay. So there you have it. So that's the sine rule for both missing sides and missing angles. So please go to maths-school.co.uk, revisit also the kind of practice questions that are on there, and obviously consolidate as much as you can. But obviously, if you need to come back to the video or content, then you can do. All right, thanks for listening.